Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. We all know that Dublin has world-class amenities and services, and what drives those is our world-class workforce. And here to talk about that and city hiring practices are our two guests, HR Director Jennifer Miglietti and HR Coordinator Kate Fuddy. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome. And as we record, there is snow on the ground here in Ohio, but we are in full seasonal hiring mode for spring and summer. In fact, your daughter was just looking for a job, right, Bruce?
Absolutely.
So it's time. Let's start off really broadly, though, because everyone has been talking about hiring and workforce and all of the challenges over the past couple of years. This question for you, Jennifer, how has hiring changed since COVID and the great labor shortage?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's changed a lot. It's gone from us being able to have 300 to 400 to 500 applicants for a job, and sometimes we're getting 30 and 40. So there is a big change. We're still able to pull fantastic candidates, but it seems as though people have weeded themselves out in a sense, and it's probably because there's so many opportunities available, and it's an employee's market right now to jump around and find what works best for your lifestyle.
And Kate, you're in charge of seasonal hiring. Tell us about the jobs we are trying to fill right now for summer.
We get into our busiest time of the year in the spring and especially in the summer with the city. Our summer camps are fully operational. Our outdoor pools are open. Our parks need a lot more maintenance during those seasons. And we have the majority of our events and some of our most popular, most well-known events happen during the summer. And none of that happens without volunteers, obviously, but also our incredible staff. So we are hiring camp staff, we're hiring counselors and supervisors, we're hiring pool staff, lifeguards, swim lesson instructors. The other piece of the outdoor pools is the concession stand. So if you don't feel like you're a strong swimmer, there is still a place for you, maybe in the concession stand or at the front desk. And then we are hiring seasonal positions for our events department and seasonal maintenance workers for our parks, forestry, horticulture. There's tons of jobs.
Yeah, Kate, I'm so interested by the lifeguard shortage. I feel like we've been hearing about that for years and years, and it's not just Dublin, it's communities across the country. Why is that? Why don't people want to be lifeguards? It's such a fun job.
It is super fun. We were talking about this earlier, but I lifeguarded all through high school and college, and I loved it. It was probably my favorite thing that I've ever done as far as a job. I love this job.
She says as she looks at her boss.
I love this job, but I loved lifeguarding. It's a more specialized job. It requires a certification, some training. There's a lot of responsibility with that job. But it's also super, super rewarding. Mm-hmm. You get to be a part of a team. You get to work super collaboratively. You get to be outside, which I think is a huge benefit to these positions. And you also are responsible for the safety of our community, which is, like I said, super rewarding.
And I'll add in one thing that I've noticed too that's really different from current generations to my generation. High school kids are busy.
They are.
When they get involved in extracurricular activities, like by July, it's a 40-hour-a-week job, which really pulls you away from your summer job opportunities. And that's something I think is very different from 10, 15, 20 years ago.
There are also more pools.
That's
people want pools. People keep building pools, which is great. We have more places to swim, but it also means that we need a lot more lifeguards.
So if you were having a conversation with a potential lifeguard, what do you say? Why choose Dublin? What's the reason?
I think that we have incredible facilities. Our outdoor pools, our indoor pool, I think they're really beautiful, well taken care of places. The North Pool is basically brand new as of 2 years ago. But I also love this community. I think that our staff and our supervisors are really great. I think that they are setting these young people up for a great future. Not everybody is going to be a camp counselor forever or a lifeguard forever, but I think that we are developing some of those really key base job skills of just being accountable, coming to work on time, making sure you're in your uniform, clocking in, clocking out, dealing with a boss, dealing with a schedule. Those are things that you're probably going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. So I think it gives you a huge advantage to try to start now with something that's fun.
Great points. I agree with that.
All right, so Kate, you kind of touched upon the pay increase. So what is the pay now compared to pre-pandemic pay? How does that compare?
So pre-pandemic, we were paying most of our seasonal / rec positions starting at minimum wage, which we do not have any positions now that start at minimum wage. The minimum pay you can get for a job is $14 an hour with us right now. That is the lowest, least pay rate. But we were paying lifeguards and camp counselors the couple of years leading up to the pandemic. It was anywhere between like $10 to $12 is what we were paying. Now we start those positions at $16.50 an hour.
That's great. I mean, other than this job, I would say when I was a camp counselor back in the day, I loved that job. I did learn so much about how to deal with kids, how to deal with parents after camp ended.
Ooh, yeah.
It was a skill that, like you said, it's a very valuable skill.
I'm glad you brought that up, Bruce, because talk a little bit about our camp counselors. I think some people get the sense that they're going out in the woods and tent camping and things like that. And that's not what we're looking for. What are we looking for camp counselors here in Dublin?
Yeah, it's not like a sleepaway camp situation, which was the type of summer camp that I was familiar with when I was a kid. But our camp is really more so structured like a school day. You're doing physical activities, you're doing educational activities, but there's a major child care element to that job of supervising these kids, making sure that their structured activities go well, that they are all interacting in a positive, healthy way. And again, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone who thinks that they maybe want to work with kids in any way, shape, or form in the future, whether that's in childcare, in education, etc.
Let's broaden this a little bit to talk about just jobs in the public sector in general. So some broad numbers there are between 20 to 23 million U.S. public sector employees, not counting the military. Federal workers are roughly 12%, state workers are about 23%, a whopping 65% are local public sector workers. Jennifer, what are the advantages and challenges right now in recruiting the best talent to come work for our city, a local government?
I think it's an employee's market. You can kind of pick what you want, what benefits matter to you, what your schedule looks like. So you can look at different employers and cherry pick what is best for you. And I think that's fantastic for employees, but that definitely makes top candidates be much more sought after by everyone.
A few months ago, governing.com wrote a piece titled "Local Governments Search for Answers to Hiring Challenges." According to one researcher, there are more state and local government job openings than any time in the last decade. But the sector's quit rate is also the highest it's been in that same time period. What's going on broadly, and are we seeing similar trends here locally?
I'm happy to report that our quit rate, or what I would call our turnover rate, has been relatively consistent. It is higher than it was pre-pandemic, but only by a couple percentages. We have about 11% turnover rate, which for all purposes of across looking at people turning is really, really good.
Now, when you say 11%, is that like annually? How does that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So 11% of the workforce turns over annually, and that's our full-time workers, not looking at our seasonal, because that's a job that's meant to turn over on a regular basis.
Have you seen this trend before where, like, I think everything, okay.
Unprecedented times.
Yeah, everything is cyclical, I feel like, but okay.
This is new, though.
It is new.
And, we benchmark from all over the country. The assistant city manager in Raleigh, North Carolina, mentioned sign-on bonuses, referral bonuses, things like that, practices that have been common in the private sector for a long time, but are kind of new in the public sector, not as common. Are we seeing those types of practices becoming more common here in Central Ohio or in Dublin?
Definitely, yes. And Dublin, yes. And I'm going to actually have Kate answer that one because we had a pretty big push on that one last year with our seasonal staff.
Yeah, so we actually were able to implement sign-on bonuses last year, which in my time in local government, I've never seen anything like that. This year, instead of the sign-on bonuses, we do have refer a friend. We call them refer a friend bonuses, but you can refer a family member, anyone that
neighbor.
you know. Refer a human.
Not as catchy though.
But this year we really, really substantially increased our pay rates for our seasonal staff by like $3 to $5 per hour. So we're kind of seeing, if that will supplement for us not having to just do the one-time bonus now that we've got these increased pay rates, and that people are going to see the payoff of that for the long term that they're with us, as opposed to just that one-time sign-on bonus.
And we're using it to our advantage. Like, you get this after you've completed X amount of time. So the incentive is,
good.
Please stick around for the season, because that's what you're needed most for.
And this is where we have to say thank you, City Council, for
Absolutely.
approving the higher pay
Yes.
bands for everyone, and for you guys just doing your homework. You're looking around to make sure that we are paying better and giving better benefits than the communities around here. So
It seems everyone is trying to figure out the behavior of millennials, and I'm not one to throw people into big, broad categories, but here's the reason why. Sheer numbers. Millennials are projected to make up 75% of the global workforce in just 2 years, according to Forbes. However, nationally, employees under 35 make up about 27% of the public workforce. What can the public sector do to attract younger employees?
I think that is something that's always on the forefront of our mind. I know things that we're working on in our sphere of control, so to speak. This year we have Bring Your Child to Work Day on April 27th, and the city wants to make a really good push to encourage employees to bring their kids to work so they can actually see what local government is in all of its facets. So that's one way that we're trying to affect our direct community by way of our employees and sharing, like, wow, this is a really good path to consider. I know Christine Nardakia, our outreach and engagement director, does some really cool programming within the community that highlights for younger people what government is all about. And I know she had a fantastic program last year. And one of my favorite comments that somebody said was, wow, I'm really going to have to look at public service, because it was something I hadn't even considered. One of the other things that we're working with tolls on is potentially having I can't think of the word. It's not an intern. Thank you, Kate. Apprenticeship program.
Good job.
So high school kids can come and have an experience here, and hopefully, if you're a fleet technician, rather than going to Honda, you're like, whoa, I can go to the city of Columbus, or even better, the city of Dublin, and have a career here.
Right. I think it's so smart, because you joked earlier, nobody grows up saying, I want to be in HR, and nobody really grows up saying, I want to work for the local government. That's not really something you hear. But when you think about what that means, I can work in recreation, I can work in City Hall, I can work, all of those things. It's really exciting.
It is, especially because I think the younger generation especially, is really outward focus. They want to do something that has an immediate impact in their community. So on that front, I have so much hope that local government is going to be the place for people to do that.
Well, that's one thing that I remember talking to former city manager Dan McDaniel, and he would say local government is the place where you get things done. It's not the federal level, it's not the state. You get the boots on the ground here, and you get things done.
And you see the impact of it.
Right. Kate, before we started recording, you talked about, your career path. You didn't start out saying that you wanted to be in local government, but here you are.
I have worked for a couple different municipalities. I started lifeguarding for City of Columbus. Then I worked at Ohio State, which is also a state employer. I worked for City of Hilliard, and now with City of Dublin. So I guess I'm in local government. I'm a lifer, but I was able to get a job and keep a job, because job security is really great with local government. Whereas maybe in the private sector, you are living, kind of in the gray a little bit,
it's volatile
because
with the economy.
It's a little bit volatile, and that, a business can close. The city of Dublin probably isn't going to close and go out of business.
Yeah, knock on wood.
So I was able to turn what I thought was just going to be a fun part-time summer job into then a full-time career in recreation, just based on work experience. I don't have a degree in recreation or a degree in human resources. I just have a Bachelor of Arts, and based on my work experience, I was just able to get on a path with local government to start out in a full-time job that then got me to HR, which I now ultimately is my lifelong career.
She's arrived in her dream job, is what she's saying.
Wow.
Well, so you've talked a little bit about your career here. I guess to both of you, what's the best career advice you've ever been given?
I would say just to keep it simple, work hard, be accountable, own your mistakes, and say thank you. Jennifer is really good about saying thank you, and I really appreciate that. But even throughout my career, there have been tons of kids that have just written me thank you notes, thanking me for hiring them, for giving them their first job. And it really has made an impression with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. When I think about what I have heard over the years when I was a kid, and I'm sure people are giving kids different advice these days, was just talk to a lot of people, because there's so many opportunities out there that you wouldn't even think of, local government being one of them. No one ever talked to me about that. But I remember having conversations with different adults and hearing what they liked about their job, what they didn't like about their job, and what they would have done differently. And I tried to learn from, the advice that they had about their life and their career.
Lindsay, do you have any advice from anybody?
Oh, putting me on the spot. So when Kate mentioned working hard, it reminded me of what my dad said literally every morning before we went to school. He said, learn a lot, get smart so you don't have to work hard like your dad. And I've thought about that a lot because obviously I work hard, but not in the way that he did. He did physical labor. He did construction and is recently just retired. But I thought about that. And when you go through life thinking about things you don't want to do, I always knew that I didn't want to do physical labor. I didn't want to work in a factory. I wanted to do something else. And so that's kind of where I came along. What about you, Bruce?
I mean, I kind of had that Scared Straight program with my dad because he worked in a factory. And
Right?
then I worked there one summer, and it was, I can still smell the grease from the axles that was there. And I was like, I know I don't want to do this, so I'd better pay attention in
I had
school.
the same experience.
So are there new opportunities within the city that maybe weren't there or just starting to blossom, say, a few years ago, and now those opportunities are really in full swing?
Things have evolved, definitely. We used to have a GIS department, which has now turned into performance analytics, and that demographic of job is just evolving with technology. IT is evolving with technology, and I think that translates into every single job. When I first started, computers were relatively new. I had one, but it was, just did very simple things. Now, if you don't know some decent things in Excel and Word, and you're okay with navigating through software systems, your job can be really tough. So technology has impacted every single job in a way that I think is just going to continue to escalate as we move forward.
That's so funny, Jennifer. All of our millennial listeners and the Gen Zers are out there saying, computers were new.
Yeah, what's a computer? I have a phone that does everything.
Yeah, right. That's true. Computers have been new and then old again by now.
Well, it's funny. I think about my job, and I joke about this because I've been with the city for 22 years, and I was hired to manage the website, and that was it. That was all we had was a website. Now we've got this explosion of digital properties that we're finding our way through on a daily basis. So, yeah, you're right. Technology has changed the way we do everything.
Right. So, Jennifer, thinking more long-term, why is Dublin a great place to grow a career?
There's so many opportunities here. I think our previous city manager, Dana McDaniel, always used to quote that we have 32 lines of business across the city. And so I think Kate is such a fantastic example of that. She started her career in a totally different area. And because of how she grew in that area, those skills were translatable that she was able to come over to HR. And I think that's just one example of several people across the city who've jumped into different places because we're relatively small and there's an opportunity to work with everyone across the board. And that really gives you an open mind for what's going on. You can build your skill set. And if you want to build a career here and you're patient and you're willing to put into the work, I think you can do really well.
Absolutely. And current city manager Megan O'Callahan is really invested in professional development opportunities and just workforce culture. And what does that mean? It's just about coming to work and doing a good job and, everyone working together, collaborating, things like that. So I think that that's great because, for example, Kate, you're working with rec, so you're collaborating with HR all the time. And then you think, hey, maybe this is a new job to pivot to. And we have that examples like that around the city.
Yeah. And again, coming from rec, I already had built relationships over there. And now I'm helping those people hire their seasonal staff. So again, just continually building relationships, developing. And in the 6+ years that I've been with the city, I truly believe that the city cares about us as people, cares about our experience and our development. And hopefully that, your dream job is with us and staying with the city. But I also feel that support that if my dream job would be somewhere else, that Dublin truly would just want the best for me.
Mm-hmm. I would agree entirely.
And what's your best advice for anyone listening today who is interested in applying for an open job, seasonal, otherwise? As we say, join us for a year or a career. What advice do you have for a job seekers or someone who might have a high schooler or a college kid looking for a summer job?
I would say visit our website. That Bruce does such a nice job maintaining.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Nice
you.
plug for the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
DublinOhioUSA.gov /careers.
Yes.
I would say visit the website. Try to find the best fit for you. We have tons of different opportunities. And if you need help, need guidance with finding the best fit for you, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
HR is always happy to answer questions and walk people through the website if they need it. And we always love having an opportunity to sell the city and help get people excited about applying.
Yeah. And I know there are lifeguard and camp counselor jobs open right now, so go there and apply. And you can also fill out job interest cards too. So if you're listening and you think, oh, I don't know, maybe I can put in and we'll get back in touch with them if there is a job that pops open that, might fit their needs later.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Jennifer and Kate, we are just starting season 2 of Link Ahead, and we're going to continue a tradition that began in season 1, our rapid fire questions. Are you both ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. As a kid, what was your dream job?
A doctor.
Marine biologist.
I had that one too.
Now
I feel like that's such a 90s.
I know, it really
that's
is.
such a 90s kid answer to that question.
I feel like my daughter had that for a while. Now, as an adult, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be?
A dancer on a stage, so you think you can dance.
Ooh.
Wow.
But I can't dance, so
You think you can?
I know I can't.
I would say astronaut because I just find space really fascinating.
Wow.
It is.
All right, what's a job you had as a kid or a young adult that you would not want to do for the rest of your life?
When I was in high school, I worked at a library as a library page. Part of it was super fun. I loved checking out books for people and scanning books back in. I didn't really love putting them on the shelf. And now you can check out your own books. So that's the most fun part about the job. And so I'm glad I can continue doing that in adulthood when I check out my own books.
The only other job I've ever had besides lifeguarding was I bagged groceries when I was 14. I actually oddly enjoy bagging groceries. I have a system that I think that like things need to be bagged with like things, but I wouldn't want to do that
I think that's the name of your podcast that you're going to start.
Yeah.
Is like things go with.
like things.
Remind me to ask you about the Dewey Decimal System afterwards.
Oh, okay.
What is the biggest red flag on a resume?
Errors, spelling errors.
Yeah, typos, or especially on a cover letter, if you don't update the company, if you're just applying for a lot of things and you're using the same cover letter, make sure you update it because we see that a lot, that people will be like, Dear AEP. And we're like, that's not us.
Cover letters are kind of an interesting dynamic. Like if there's multiple candidates and we want to get a better feel for somebody, we really do read those letters in depth and kind of say, hey, I think we're going to go with this person if two people are equal because of how they write their cover letter.
It's true. A lot of people don't even do cover letters anymore, but on our team, communications and public information, I was like, we are communicators. I need to know that you can put some sentences together. And yeah, so if you don't have a cover letter, I'm probably not even going to look at it. And then if you have typos or errors or things like that, it's like, ooh, we don't need that.
Got to sell yourself, right?
Right. Can you tell us what's the number one question you get in HR?
I think externally we get a lot of, is this job open? And if not, when is there going to be one? And internally, it's such a gamut of different things. It could be benefit questions. It can be evaluation questions. When am I going to get my raise? There's so many of them, but we're here to answer anything that comes our way.
What about you, Kate?
I would say just because I hire for the seasonal jobs, I get a lot of parents calling, asking questions about the jobs for their kids. There's nothing wrong with that, I would say, but I would challenge everyone out there to put your kid in the driver's seat. Have them make the call or have them send the email. That is honestly step one of taking ownership of this is their job. And I know it can be awkward and uncomfortable, especially because people don't talk on the phone anymore
Right.
or answer their phone. But I would challenge everybody to do that.
Oh, I'm looking at you, Bruce, because I know you do that.
Yes, absolutely. My kids have been ordering from the menu since I could talk. So. Speaking of food, best lunch spot in Dublin, Kate.
I really like Dublin Village Tavern.
Oh, that's a good one.
I really like Pita INT.
Oh,
a
they are
good
so
one, too.
good.
Love it. So
That's such
good.
a hole in the wall. I feel like a lot of people don't know about
I
them.
know. And
It's
after
really good.
after Aladdin's left, I was like, I need my
Right.
fix. And Pita International came along.
Okay, what about dinner?
Ooh, the pearl.
Oh, fancy. I really like North High Brewing. I think they have really, really good food.
All right, it's winter in Ohio. There's snow on the ground, and you can get away for a 3-day-long weekend anywhere right now. Where do you go, Jennifer?
Oh, Hawaii. I mean, 3 days.
3 days in
okay,
Hawaii?
Florida.
I would just say any place warm that has a beach / pool. I would not be picky.
What makes both of you stay in the public sector here for our great city?
The people. I really enjoy the people that we work with. We have a fantastic staff all the way across the city. And I think everyone here genuinely wants to help each other and help each other succeed. And that means a lot to me.
I get a lot of satisfaction from seeing people get their first job. And just them being really excited and asking about like when they're going to get their first paycheck.
And then they see taxes come out and they're disappointed.
But I just continually am just impressed with the young people in our community. Obviously, not everybody who works in these seasonal jobs is young. We have all ages across the gambit that work in these seasonal positions. We have people who retire and then want to return to the workforce in kind of a seasonal part-time capacity. So I like that kind of diversity of generations that we have. But yeah, just all around, I love our team. I love working for the city.
What's the most fun thing you get to do working in HR, Kate?
Yeah, I will say we are working on a fairly robust recruitment campaign right now, kind of finalizing that. I like seeing, the things that the company is coming up with as far as graphics and things that we're going to be using on social media, and just helps keep things kind of fresh and engaging.
I really like our employee events. Every year I look forward to the memorial tournament, breakfast or luncheon, the end of the year celebration, just all the different, I love when we're all together and we can talk and just be people.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for Link Ahead, Jennifer Miglietti and Kate Buddy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
And to our listeners, thank you for taking the time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.